los lenguajes. Mubancha is the Choctaw word, which means the land where many languages are spoken. Como trabajadores de justicia del lenguaje, nos esforzamos a crear un espacio para que todos aquí presentes puedan entender y ser entendidos en el idioma en que nos sentimos más poderosos. As language justice workers, we strive to create space for everyone here to understand and be understood in the language in which we feel most powerful. Notará que estamos usando la letra E al final de las palabras binarias. Esto no es un error. Es nuestro intento de crear un lenguaje más inclusivo e incluir personas de todos los géneros. It's us using the letter E at the end of gendered words in Spanish. It's not an error. It is us attempting to create a more inclusive language and include people of all genders. Now we'll explain how to access the interpretation feature on Zoom. Ahora explicaremos cómo acceder a la plataforma de interpretación en Zoom. If you are using a computer, you will see a globe icon at the bottom of your screen with the word interpretation. Click on it and select the channel with the language of your choice. Si estás usando una computadora, vas a ver un icono de globo al pie de tu pantalla con la palabra interpretación. Haz clic sobre él y selecciona el canal con tu lenguaje preferido. For a smartphone or tablet, look for three dots that read more. Click on that to make your selection. Para teléfono inteligente o tableta, busca tres puntos que lean más y haz clic para hacer tu selección. When choosing your language, you will see an option to mute original audio. Click on it if you only want to hear the voice of the interpreter. To hear original audio, you can leave it unclicked. You can change the selection at any time. Al elegir tu idioma, verás una opción para silenciar el audio original. Haz clic en ella si quieres solamente escuchar el voz del intérprete. Para escuchar el audio original, puedes dejarlo sin seleccionar. Puedes cambiar tu selección en cualquier momento. Now, to create this space together, a few more things. Please speak at a slow and steady pace. If you're speaking too fast, you'll see us do this hand signal to slow down. Please speak loudly and clearly. We will do this hand signal if you are speaking too softly. Please try to say the full name of organizations or other acronyms. Keep an eye on the chat in case we send a message to slow down or to speak up. Keep your microphone on mute if you are not speaking, and if you have headphones, please use them. One speaker at a time. Interpreters can only interpret one voice at a time. We don't want to be in the position of having to decide what voice to privilege over the other. Para crear este espacio juntas, algunas cositas más. Por favor, hable a un paso lento y constante. Si estás hablando muy rápido, nos verás hacer este señal con las manos para que hables más despacio. Habla en voz alta y clara. Haremos este señal con la mano si no te podemos escuchar. Intenta de decir el nombre completo de los acrónimos, por ejemplo, de diferentes organizaciones. Échale un ojo al chat por si enviamos un mensaje para que hables más lentamente o en más alta. Mantén tu micrófono en silencio si no estás hablando y si tienes audífonos, úsalos. Una persona a la vez. Los intérpretes solamente pueden interpretar una voz a la vez. No queremos estar en posición de tener que decidir cuál voz privilegiar sobre la otra. And lastly, don't suffer in silence. If you have problems with hearing us or the speakers, please send a message in the chat. Y por último, no sufras en silencio. Si tienes cualquier problema escuchándonos a nosotros, a los presentadores, por favor envíe un mensaje al chat. Thank you for your commitment to creating a multilingual space. Muchas gracias por su compromiso en crear un espacio multilingüe. Back to you, Arlene.
Thank you so much, Carla. I appreciate it. So our purpose here tonight is to listen to and to hear a variety of voices of system-impacted youth who have been directly affected by arrest and or incarceration. This includes any of us who have been in the foster care system, group homes, mental institutions, jail, or prison as human beings under the age of 25.
Youth and citizens of Pomona, we want to hear your stories and we want to know what you think should be done about youth diversion. Youth diversion can look differently in different settings. Generally speaking, youth diversion means diverting people from the juvenile justice system. Pre-arrest youth diversion is more of a formal program working with the law enforcement at the point of what could be an arrest, to give young people another chance instead of being immediately punished or incarcerated. For today's purpose, we're staying generalized.
Thank you so much, Louise. We will listen first to the voices of the youth. As time permits, after all the youth of the voices of Pomona have been heard, we will invite input from parents who have been directly affected by your child's arrest and or time in the system, and other adults who want to share your thoughts or your stories.
To make sure that we hear from a variety of voices, we ask that each speaker speaks for 3 minutes about their thoughts and feelings on youth diversion as a way to divert or redirect young people away from current justice systems. To help us identify who would like to speak, we ask that you raise your hand electronically and we will call on you. This will go fast and it will let us listen to many perspectives.
Thank you, Louise. In March of 2021, Gente Organizada released a report that highlights, among other issues, racial disparities in juvenile arrest rates in Pomona among historically marginalized communities. A link to the full report can be found in the chat.
The report noted that Black and Latinx youth are more likely to be overrepresented in the criminal justice system. It points out that over-policing of youth of color perpetuates the increased violence and harm in the community, which is interconnected to the complex social problems we face. Poverty, homelessness, mental health, and substance abuse are the common social problems that youth of color face in Pomona. Our 91766 zip code is one of the most heavily impacted in all of Los Angeles County.
There's a movement in LA County and elsewhere also that supports action to move towards alternatives of youth development. The Gente report calls for a multi-agency investment in prayer youth diversion. This is being worked on here in Pomona.
As a community, it is our responsibility to reimagine a world free of punishment and full of opportunities. Tonight's town hall meeting on the subject of youth diversion begins a process of coming together in a community to hear why the system needs to change and what we want to do instead.
And so with that, we will be switching gears to hear the personal narratives and stories of those who want to go ahead and share their sorry about that, who want to go ahead and share as well their stories of why youth diversion is necessary and their experiences as well. So as you can see, we go ahead and have it right here in the background. Question 1. Is there an experience from your life that you'd like to share with us about how the system has affected you? Please share your name and age if you are willing. I believe those in the crowd as well, whoever is the panelist and has access to that, feel free to let me know and you can go ahead and answer question 1.
Okay, so hi, this is Jesus, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and give access to Daniel Varela to go ahead and give testimony. So Daniel, you should be getting access to speak. And anyone who has their hands raised, if you have your hand raised, we're going to go ahead and give you access to speak. So feel free to leave it raised until it's your turn if you plan on giving testimony. And before I give Daniel access, just make sure if you're an adult, let's wait our turn and allow our young people to go first. So you could lower your hand if you're not a young person yet. So we're assuming everyone that has their hands raised right now is a young person. So Daniel Varela, I'm going to give you access to talk, and 1 second. Okay, Daniel? Okay, Daniel, can you hear me? If you could, you're able to speak and give testimony.
Hey, Daniel, the audio is really, really low on your end.
Okay, I'm gonna try to fix it. Sorry.
All right, y'all, sorry so much, Daniel. We're gonna come back to you, okay? So we couldn't hear your audio, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with the next speaker, who is Josie Ramirez, and you should have permission and access to speak right now as well. So thank you, Josie.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Josie Ramirez. I was born and raised here in the city of Pomona. I am 20 years old and I am currently in my third year in college. And the way that the system has affected me was mainly my brother, who is maybe a couple 6 years older than me, has dealt with the system since he was at the age of like 11, from shooting a BB gun and then accidentally hitting someone's eye to just constantly being, stealing, whatever it was. And it has affected me just because, like, seeing him and being brought up in that way and no one really giving him a chance to hear him out and just kind of be able to hear about, the things that he was going through and, why he was acting the way he was acting. And not that anything that he was doing justified, it should be justified at all, but as someone at a really young age, from playing outside with your friends and the BB gun hitting somebody in the eye, like, for you to just, like, for cops to get involved, and at a young age, like, that's really really, like, it can really shape someone and the way that they go on from there and the way that they view police and stuff like that. So I remember, like, there was a specific incident after he was getting caught up, and we grew up on the east side of Pomona. And when he started kind of being involved with the wrong crowd, um, there was a police officer who was kind of always assigned to him and to his case and stuff. And he, like, looked my mom at the eye one time when she went to go pick him up from wherever he had to get picked up from, and said, like, you know what, like, I'll be the one to put your son in jail, and I'll be the one like, there's gonna be the day that he gets locked up, like, I'm just letting you know that that's gonna happen. And so for a single mother of 5 kids, and we're growing up in poverty, to hear that from someone who's, like, you already are kind of fearful of, and you don't really know how else to help your kids, it's like, dang, like, that to for her to hear that was just, like, super hard on her and hard on our family. But every time, like, for any parole issue that he had or probation issue that he had, like, it would literally look like a SWAT team would pull up to our house just to go do a parole check. And, like, my little brother being, 4 months old, like, all of us having to be pulled out of the house early morning before school and, like, sitting on the curb, all acting like we did something wrong, like we were harboring the freaking president of the United States or whatever it was. Like, it just, the way that the system handles things has just really affected my life and his life. And to this day, he's still in and out of jail. And, like, I feel like if there was just something or someone who would have advocated for him, in the middle of all of this, like, he could have had such a huge turnaround on his life. And I see it so much with some of the youth that I'm involved with and people that I know that I go to school with. And like, it's just somebody just needs to be the voice for them and just advocate for them. And what is the out, and what is what can stand in place of incarceration so that they don't end up, where they're going to end up if they continue in and out of the system. I've had the privilege to oversee the document that we all worked on, and I'm really happy that I've had a voice in that. And I'm also really happy to be here. Sorry, I ranted a little bit on question 1, but question 2, how do you want your city, your schools, local police to change on how they treat and support youth? Yeah, I just feel like the answer to that is just being an advocate, and just listening. And a lot of these youth just need somebody to just listen to them and also be a voice for them. So thank you for letting me have the time to share.
Thank you so much, Josie. Thank you for your testimony. Really appreciate you sharing space and answering questions 1 and 2. It's a lot of insight. Anybody else wants to go ahead and give testimony? I see some hands raised out in the crowd. I'll go ahead and hand that over to Jesus. Go unmute whoever's next.
Perfect. Thank you, Arlene. So we're going to go ahead and unmute Anthony Hostetler Munoz. So go ahead and get ready. I'm going to give you permission to speak here in 1 second.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony. I'm 17 years old, and I was affected by the system about when I was 15, so about 2 years ago, and I got arrested. Then I was on probation, and that was tough. It really affected me. I guess not. I guess like it did affect me. Shit. Then again, once again, I guess I didn't learn my lesson because then I got affected by the system again. And when I was 16, I had caught another case, but that was due to a lot like me not having like the right the right the right guidance and my own like judgment. My own judgment like was not the best, and I was making bad decisions, and I got arrested because of that. But you know, nowadays I'm doing a lot better, and that's thanks to a lot like the people who have been placed in my life that God has put in my life, and I'm blessed with, and I'm not gonna take that for granted. I'm gonna realize what I've been given and do better. And I think a lot too, like some things like that maybe I guess life is missing out on is like more better like authority like there's not really like a lot of authority in well obviously there's authority but it could be better, and I'm pretty sure like you could probably like search on facts like a little like fact check like it's probably a whole lot of people that have been incarcerated and a lot of young people too, so I think maybe like just put like I don't want to say more cops but like more like authority figures. That could be a big way to help the youth, and definitely also like stuff like Justice for Youth I think is dope because they help me, so I definitely like could see them helping other people, and I have seen them help other people, and it's just like it's amazing. Yeah, that's it. That's everything I gotta say.
All good. Thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate it. How do you want your city and your schools and local police to change the way that they treat and support youth? What are some things that you would like to see like implemented?
Um, that's a good question. Um, Maybe just like I said, like more authority, like really like more authority figures. Like I think Justice for Youth is a great thing. Maybe like add another like Justice 5 Youth or something. I don't know. Yeah, just more authority, definitely.
For sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your testimony. Very
Of course.
powerful. All right. Jesus, if you could like to see who is next out in the crowd, you can go ahead and unmute them.
Yeah, I got you. So Daniel Varela, we're gonna go back to you, Daniel. I'm gonna go ahead and give you video access as well and make you a panelist. So if you wanna turn your video on, it's totally up to you. Anyone that's giving testimony, you don't have to do video. We just wanna make sure to hear from you, and we're taking notes, right? We're trying to learn from y'all. So Daniel Varela, you're next. I'm going to promote you to panelist.
I couldn't find my headphones. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So for the second question, I believe it's important to make sure that we change our police by maybe using private discretion and maybe vital, not judgments, but vital, something to help them give reflections on and to change the system or to change themselves in an ethical way to the point where they might say, okay, that's not right. So let me just do something that is right for this particular group or individual. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know if I should continue because I don't think everybody can hear me.
All good, Daniel, no worries. You can also go ahead and type it in the chat, and if you're comfortable, I can go ahead and read it for you for questions 1 and 2, if it's not too much to ask. Oh, some people are saying they hear it fine.
Okay. Again, I'm very sorry. Also, I am 23. I do live in Ontario. It's pretty okay. I can type it in, yeah. Thank you.
All good, no worries, Daniel. Thank you so much, and I'll go ahead and read it when we get the chance, and you go ahead and type that into the chat. I appreciate it. Alrighty, Jesus.
Thank you, Arlene. We're now going to call on Destiny Rivera Gomez. I'm going to promote you to a panelist. And again, totally up to you if you want to use the video feature. So give it 1 second.
Hi, hello. So I'm not turning on my camera. I am a bit sick, but I am so excited to be here and be a part of this conversation. It's an honor to be one of the panelists for the community town hall and just be somebody to share their own testimony on something that is very important and vital to not only myself, but a lot of my own community members that include family members and even my little brothers who are both Mexican. So just going to really be talking on both questions of here and out, but my name is Destiny Rivera and I am 19 years old. And I graduated from Fremont Academy of Engineering and Design, and I'm a sophomore at Scripps College. I want to address the importance of a few topics, starting with stopping the placement of Pomona PD on our school campuses. Before the summer of 2020, when the Black Lives Movements were at the heat of the time, police had already left a bad taste in the mouths of our POC. It's nothing new. They have evoked anger, they have evoked mistrust, and they have evoked fear on our young ones as ages in like elementary level. What good would they do to our students if they're patrolling the schools, a space meant for learning and socializing, and most importantly, self-development? While this occurs in the home, it occurs just as much in a school environment. The school to prison pipeline is real and affects our students, not just in our district, but in other districts. And we aren't pushing for change because we're bored. We're pushing because it affects our people, the students, and someday our future leaders. As cheesy as it sounds, this will affect our youth and their path in education through transition into adulthood. This follows through. Through several personal testimonies I have heard and recorded, police encounters at ages such as young elementary school still affect them in their current or previous institutions and workspaces. This isn't something that we kind of like shake off. It's something that follows us. It's something that when we see a police officer, we feel interrogated just by their presence, or we feel like we've done something wrong because our past haunts us, because they try to intimidate us by the color of our skin and try to remind us that any type of mistake we may have made as in our youth, it defines who we are, the people we are becoming. And that isn't what we want our authority to look like. We want our authority to be mentors, and we want them to actually come with intent, not just say, yeah, we're going to mentor you, and then they just stick to whatever they think or their beliefs are. It also shouldn't be stated in any type of contract where we interact with Pomona PD that they need to humanize our students or they need to treat us fairly or equally. While that promises some sort of maybe reassurance to our students, it's more concerning that it has to be put there in place to keep ourselves, our students, my little brothers safe from any type of harm. The intention that the district or Pomona PD or whoever has for these designated officers or just having these local police is that maybe better safe than sorry, but police officers themselves in reality alone, they are the threat. They pose a threat themselves on our students, both physically and emotionally. And it's more important now to recognize the emotional trauma that all of these students have and most likely will experience if we allow this to keep happening. On a separate yet similar note, our concern does not solely consist of the K-12 community members. It also includes our transitional youth, 18 to 25, a timeline where our brains are still developing, some still learning to drive or do their taxes or apply for a job, pay for college, and so much more. These are still things that we're learning to do, and we shouldn't be left behind. I have still so many questions at the year of 19 that I have to go and ask, like Jesus or even my previous teachers in Fremont Academy. I'm not done growing, and I don't think we should leave those transitional youth behind because there's so much that we are developing as individuals and as community members in Pomona. And if the fact that helping us because you care individually is not enough, then help us because we contribute to society, to the community. We're the ones driving beside you. We're the ones buying the groceries in the same cashier line. We're there with you. And that should be enough to be like, hey, let's provide some type of support. Going back to a previous testimony from one of the panelists about a change of authority, that is exactly what we need. Authority does not have to be something bad. Authority can look as mentorship, better guidance, even guidance by those who have had or made the same mistakes that you have made and are currently going through. So that's all I wanted to say. I think better guidance, better resources, mental health resources. I know that it is such a broad term, but as a community, it should be our responsibility and it should be something we're willing to do to get creative and provide for our youth. Mental health resources doesn't have to always be going to a Tri-City or sitting down with a psychiatrist. It could be so many other ways of just mental wellness, whether it's having a community painting day or it's having a community hike around the Bonelli Trail or around the Westmont Hills. It looks and takes many shapes and forms. And I would love to work as a group to create these for our youth, whether it's from K-12 or 18 to 25. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you, Destiny. I was like, hold on, let me take that all in. Really appreciate that insight. Thank you so much. I go ahead and see in the chat that Daniel went ahead and typed in. If y'all remember, Daniel was a panelist from a little bit earlier. If it's okay with everybody and with our tech who is handling the panelists, is it okay if I read Daniel's testimony?
Absolutely, Arlene, go for it.
For sure, thank you. So Daniel Varela went ahead and put in the chat, I am 23. One thing about the system that has affected me and others I know is changed my views on the prospect of justice and the view of authoritarian of the justice system. Sometimes it seems like the measures can go up and down and seem antagonizing when it comes to what is right and what is wrong in a certain circumstances. It can upright be immoral. I am falsely accused in the system that has lowered my trust and subjected my self-esteem in the justice system. Thank you so much, Daniel. And that is exactly what we are here in this space for, to hear these stories by not only our community members, but also system impacted youth and how we feel about these systems, right? And not even just how we feel about the systems, but what we want to go ahead and do to change these systems and start implementing. So thank you everybody so much for sharing space and, you know, going ahead and sharing your story, because they do matter. And that is exactly why I'm happy to be in this community with all of y'all who are attending. So next panelist, thank you so much again, Destiny and Daniel. I really appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Arlene. Samantha Salazar, you're up next. So I'm going to promote you as panelist. And again, you have the option if you want to use the video feature. If not, it is completely okay. So thank you, Samantha.
Okay, it's all working, right? Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Samantha Salazar, and I am 17 years old. And the way our system impacted is that around the age of 3, my dad went to prison for 10 years. So growing up, I didn't spend holidays at home, and I didn't really spend holidays much with my family. I had to spend them with my dad in prison. So starting from the age of 3, I went to prison. I started being patted down by officers, listening to that authority, and that there's a lot of tension when you're near those guards and you hear them just yelling at you, yelling at the prisoners. And that's what I grew up around with for 10 years. And afterwards, when my dad went to prison, he was around 20 years old, and he was in that important age where he was still growing, like Destiny had mentioned. Those years are really important to really shape us, and he lost them. So when he went to prison, he didn't really know what to do. And by the time he got out, he was 30. He didn't know how to raise me. He didn't really know how to be a father. So let alone, he didn't learn those important aspects in life. And afterwards, he ended up being a victim of domestic abuse. He's homeless, and he stayed out of prison, but he's really struggling to keep up. And it not only just affected him, but it impacted me a lot emotionally to see my own father go through that, and having to see him go through the trauma that he dealt with in prison. And as going for question number 2, for my city, school, local police to change, is that I wish there was more support. I wish they would try to remove the stigma around people being in prison as just bad people and automatically connecting them with their children, to try to give them that comfort and realize that we needed support. Like, I wish I had somebody to support me in my city besides just my family, to make it feel like, oh, well, you're hurt. Like, we want to help you, like, be okay. And it was just, I know there's a lot of kids like me, and I know they're probably dealing with more emotions. And I ended up moving from Pomona after I was 3 years old, and I moved to Upland. So I had the privilege to really get different aspects of life and see how it was taken. But I also wish that, like, now there was more programs to help kids like me and kids who got out of the system, because they're going in and out, but no one's giving them sense of direction to really get on track. And you can't really expect them to not go back and just throw them out into the street again, not expecting anything. So I wish there was really that comfort to try to help them, to really stick to them and help them go to school, help them build them, help them have a future for themselves, and really make them believe. Because you can't have the police yelling at them constantly, degrading them, and expect them not to retaliate. And you can't expect them not to feel a certain way towards police and not have an attitude. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. I appreciate your insight. And I think that's also very important to come ahead and bring about, right? Yes, we have system impacted youth, but this youth also has family, and families get affected by things like this. And that is exactly why these conversations are necessary and why we should, stray away from the sense of shame that we feel because we're attacked by these systems. So again, thank you so much for sharing, Sam. Anybody is next? Jesus, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Arlene, and thank you, Samantha. So we have a couple more Sams or Samanthas coming. So the next one is Sam Gutierrez. So I'm going to go ahead and make you a panelist. And again, you have the option if you'd like to use the video feature. So 1 second.
Hello, can y'all hear me? Yeah? All right.
You need to speak a little bit louder, Sam, but yes, I
Yes.
hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me? You good? All right, cool. Hello, my name is Sam Gutierrez. I'm 22. I'm a member of Pomona Students Union and Gente Organizada. I'm from Pomona and a recent graduate of UC Berkeley. I grew up going to Pomona Unified Schools and graduated from Ganesha High School in 2017. Today, I'm here to read a testimony from one of our youth that attends Gary High School and would like to address the school to prison pipeline in Pomona and in support of keeping police off of our schools. So here is their testimony. At the end of class, my teacher got a call and said he had to escort me to the office. When I arrived, my vice principal said there were 2 police officers waiting for me. The officer said I had to answer their questions before I could leave, even though I had to pick up my little brother. I didn't know why I was there, but they sat me in a chair in a tiny room and closed the door. I felt very nervous speaking with police, especially because I didn't have my mom or anyone and I wanted to leave. They told me about an inappropriate video going around the school and accused me of having it, even though I told them I didn't. They kept asking me repetitive questions, making me feel like I did something wrong. They also made me unlock my phone so they could search it, looking at my photos and social media history. I kept telling them I didn't do anything. After 40 minutes, they didn't find anything and told me I could go. I realize now they took advantage of me because I didn't know my rights, and it was like being pushed into a trap. I want my school to look out for my best interest, and letting police question me like that on campus was not in my best interest. I'm speaking up because even though I had my mom to protect me after, I know a lot of other kids don't have that support, and I don't want this to happen to them. And that's the end of their testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate that. That was a student from Gary High School, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead and see who else, a panelist that we may have, and go ahead in the crowd.
Thank you, Arlene. We have one more hand raised from our young folks. So if you're a young person in the audience, y'all are getting VIP treatment. We want to hear from you first, right? So this is something that we're working on as a collective, and we want to center your stories, right? We want to center your solutions more than anything. So if you're a young person and want to give testimony, please feel free to do the raise hand feature on Zoom. So we have one more person with their hand raised. So I'm going to go ahead and promote to panelist Samantha Zavala. One second.
Can you guys hear me?
Sounds good.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Samantha Zavala. I grew up here in Pomona. I graduated from Fremont Academy of Engineering and Design in the year 2020, and I'm currently studying at UC Berkeley. So I'm the oldest child of a broken Mexican household. My dad was deported the day that I was born, and we never had any financial income or support from him. When I was younger growing up, there were many sacrifices that I had to cope with and so much pain that I carried with me. And growing up, I never felt a sense of community, and I never felt like I had any autonomy over my own body and my own decisions. It was not until finding a space at Gente Organizada and finding a teacher that I could talk to and trust that I actually felt safe. So that's my definition of safe. And if I hadn't found those spaces, I don't know what I would have done. I finally found people who made me feel safe, who made me feel like my feelings are validated. So they don't protect me, but they value me and my feelings and who I am and my experiences. So I'm lucky because I found those people and they're very accepting of me. But not everyone is as lucky as I am. I looked for these, I didn't look for them, right? But I found these places. And something that I desire from our schools, our city, and our community to invest in are these safe spaces or professionals who can help us discuss our traumas, to teach us, to help us heal, and to encourage our autonomy as young humans who don't owe anything to anyone. Who, when these young kids feel sad, it's okay. When these young kids are going through an existential crisis, because that's what it feels like, almost like every 6 months. So my safe spaces saved me, and that's what I would desire from our community. That's my response to question 2.
Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate you sharing your testimony and sharing your story as well. That's something very important, to go ahead and consider thinking about these safe spaces. What do these safe spaces look like away from the criminal justice system, So thank you so much. The purpose here today was as well to center our youth voices, right, of Pomona, and to hear their ideas and their thoughts of what youth diversion goes ahead and looks like for them or feels like for them. And not only that, as I mentioned earlier, these youth also have families who have been impacted. There's also adults who are still impacted by the youth. And so with that, I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor. If there's any adults within the crowd that want to go ahead and share a testimony or speak on anything and answer probably questions 1 or 2 as well, please feel free to raise your hand now. I'll also go ahead and like to pass it back over to Jesus.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Arlene. So I got 2 people up next, and I think Luis, you could check me when it's your turn, but we got Josie Ramirez, and I want to apologize to Josie because I didn't figure out how to give you video features. So I see with your hand raised, so I'm going to promote you to panelist right now, and I think you got some more to share with us. So thank you, Josie. And then I think we're going to be followed by Luis Antonio. And then we have some of our adults in the audience that are starting to raise their hands. So Josie, you're up next.
Can everybody hear and see me okay? Hello? Oh, cool. Yeah, so sis, thank you for giving me the opportunity to just kind of add something. I was truly, when you're kind of the first one to talk, it's kind of hard to know how much you want to share and how much you want to kind of let out there. But truly, after hearing everybody's testimony, I'm like inspired to just kind of talk a little bit more if I have the opportunity to. So I just kind of want to hit back a little bit. Like recently, I came across somebody who was like, well, the way you talk about police and it sounds like you hate them. and you wish they weren't here, and like who are you gonna call when you need someone like a police officer. And I was like, dang, like that's not what I'm trying to say, that's not what I'm trying to tell you. Is like, for me being brought up where I was brought up, it's like we are just terrified. We are scared. We don't know nothing more than to be fearful of cops. Especially, and I'm not even gonna say what color or what anything like that, but cops. And like coming from a parent who's an immigrant, coming from a single parent household with an immigrant parent, it's like that's like people knock on the door and your mom's not home, you hide. You hide because you don't know who's there, and you don't know if it's I trying to take them or whatever it is. Like it's just the way that I was brought up, and a lot of the people that I know and people from my neighborhood is like cops are someone we fear, and that's all we've known. And like I love what the other somebody else, another participant who shared the testimony about how their father was incarcerated. Like that was me too. Like from the day that my dad's name wasn't even on my birth certificate, and not even knowing who this fool was, I had to go visit him in jail. And it's like, dang, like how different would my life have been if someone would have just given him another chance? Maybe I would have gotten the opportunity to know what it's like to have a father in my life. And that's something that I'll never get to experience because unfortunately he did pass away when I was at the age of 13, and I never got to meet. Oh, I never got to meet him where I remember him. I was little when I met him. I was maybe at the age of 3, so I have like small memory of being in the prison and being there with him, but like never got to know him like that. And coming to the system where now two of my brothers are being constantly jammed up by cops, and even me trying to stand up for them because I see the injustice in the front of my yard. I see my mother crying, and I see the cops mishandling my brothers, grabbing them for something that they're not even doing. And I try to stand up for them, and then a cop wants to come to me and try to tell me to back up and tell me to like they're trying to detain me when all I'm trying to do is explain to them that my brother didn't do anything. He didn't do nothing. Why are you here? His son is in the living room. His son has had to go throughout he's only 6 years old, and his dad has only been out for maybe 3 years of his life because he's been in and out of jail. His son is in the living room sleeping the day before his birthday party, and you're trying to jam him up for what? You're doing a parole check, but why is there four cop cars in my front yard? 8 cops outside of my house, my mother crying, my little brother traumatized, his brother's son, my nephew, in the living room sleeping, and he didn't do anything. But because you know him, because you know his name, because he's been in the system since he was the age of 11, you already have some perception about him. And the moment I try to speak up and say, stop, you're hurting him. Oh, you want to hurt me too? You want to detain me too for what? Because what am I doing? What is he doing? That's the system. That's what the system is, and it's broken. The best way I can describe the system is that it's broken, and until people continue to share their testimonies and organizations like Gente Organizada, Justice for Youth organization that I get to be a part of, speak up and say something, like this cycle is going to continue to happen. And so I'm so thankful and grateful, Jesus, that you gave me another opportunity to just kind of share and get real raw and vulnerable here with this group of people that I don't even know, to be honest. And thank you to all the other participants who felt so able to just come up here and share and speak so vulnerably, because you inspired me to be able to do the same. Thank you.
I need a minute. that made my eyes tear up, but not only just because of that, because I felt that on so many different levels. Thank you, Josie, for sharing your testimony. And like you said, the first time around, right? You really don't know what to say and what to share. It's kind of like what feels safe, or like what's okay to say. But the reality of things is like, this is a reality for some folks. This is a reality for some families, and it's so important to center our humaneness, right? And center the humaneness of those who are in the system and impacted by the system, because it's very much real. So yeah, thank you, Josie. I'm gonna take a minute. I'm gonna, let Jesus pull up the next panelist. Yes, please, Jesus.
Yeah, thank you, Arlene and Josie. Yep, goosebumps. You moved us, and I'm gonna popcorn it over to Luis Antonio. You have your hand raised as well. So Luis, the floor is yours, my friend.
Cool, thank you. First, I just want to thank everybody that opened up and spoke up. Your voice really matters. So thank you for that, Josie. You really touched my heart. It's the first time I've ever heard you open up and be raw, like you said it. So thank you for that. I'm sure you inspire many people in this call. I just wanted to share the testimony of a student, a 16-year-old student. His name is Emiliano. And I asked him both of the questions, and his response was, I think cops are needed for several students to have safety. I feel I don't need cops because I can protect myself, but unfortunately, other students can't. And that kind of grabbed my attention right away, because I will agree with many of the voices that were spoken in this meeting, that there is a lot of bad cops out there, and there is a lot of cops that take advantage of their authority. But I will not say that our cops are bad, right? Um, I will say that there's more training needed to be done, especially in uh, underrepresented communities, low-income communities like Pomona. I completely get that, but this right here just brings up a good point that the student made, right? He says that he don't need the cops, he doesn't care about them, but I wonder and I think, like, is there students, young youth, families that do rely on cops and that feel safe around them? So that's just a question that I want to throw out there for everybody. But thank you, Jesus. That's just all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Luis Antonio. Arlene, just checking in. I think we're going to start to transition into some of our adults and community members who have their hand raised. Is that okay?
That's okay with me. Yes.
All right, perfect. So the first person that we have that has their hands raised, and yeah, I see some other hands going up. Please jump in, y'all. This is a lot of conversation here, right? So different viewpoints. First one that I have, Carlos Callejo, you're up next. I'm gonna promote you to panelist. Again, if y'all wanna use the video feature, you're more than welcome to, but it is optional. So thank you, Carlos.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos Callejo. I'm 23, and I'm currently studying history at Cal Poly Pomona. I'm Pomona born and raised, and I've gone to school across the LA County area. What another speaker said, I completely agree with. The school to prison pipeline is absolutely real. And I found that even if you do excel in your studies, you're viewed a certain way, especially if you look a certain way. I know so many family members, friends who are POC that feel that they're essentially dehumanized by our system. And you can see that through the over-policing, especially. Personally, growing up, it's maybe the case with some of us, growing up, police didn't make me feel comfortable on campus. It was actually quite the opposite. And then through my time in college, I've had the privilege to work with so many kids that I could see have that spark of passion in a subject, but our system just doesn't let them foster that interest and really excel. To answer number two, I think it's personally, I just think we need to properly fund our K through 12 schools, community colleges, trade schools, and like our mental health services. I think that's all super important. Let's give these students a proper transition to life and not incarceration. And lastly, I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been sharing their experiences, especially the kids. I think it's really important that we hear your stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Carlos. I appreciate it. As we continue, go ahead. The next person in the crowd, Jesus, we are now moving to the quote unquote adult section, we're moving from our youth to now hearing the voices of our community members and other people who have went ahead and have either been systemically impacted themselves or have family members. So go ahead, whoever's next, please.
Thank you. All right, next up, you're going to be promoted to panelist is Israel Arturo Alonso. Israel, when you're ready, you could go ahead and speak up, and I think we should be able to hear you. So right now you're muted though.
Okay, here, thank you. Hi everyone, nice to see you guys, meet you guys. My name is Israel Alonso. I'm currently 45 years old. In case you guys are not aware, I'm Arlene's father, and I'm going to share my experience with the whole authority and my point of view of the system. Fortunately, I did grow up. Well, no, not unfortunately. Very fortunate to have grown up part of my part life in Pomona. Uh, most part of it in La Puente, city of industry. Okay, the way I was impacted by the system growing up, didn't have much guidance. Single grown with the with the single mother raised. It was very difficult not having that sense of authority or anyone to guide you as a father figure. Was very difficult growing up, but you managed to grow through that at a very young age. Hard to believe, and to this day, maybe not many people but might believe that. At 11 years old, I started delivering newspaper for San Gabriel Valley Tribune. Uh, but they don't. Nobody sees that. The the authority don't see that, right? The police officers, they never seen that. Growing up, I was probably one of the ones in taking their newspaper to their homes, delivering and collecting $5.50 a week or every month. Sorry, for that to earn some money to go to baseball practice to get into a baseball team in Galaxy Little League in La Puente, right? Because my mother couldn't afford it. I worked real hard, tried to stay out of trouble, but for some reason I always found trouble, right? Regardless of that, growing up, um, going to school, I always searched for something to make me feel wanted, loved, or be part of. Um, wow, it kind of I did get that right. Um, Growing up in baseball teams and playing, being part of the community in that way. Um, Now reaching the older ages towards you hitting junior high school, growing up, going to junior high, didn't have much guidance, but I was still in search for something good in my life. I found some type of guidance in some some people that were interested in helping the youth that were trying to help kids get away from gangs or stay away from trouble. Um, I still remember the gentleman's name. His name is Gino. I don't remember his last name, but his name we called him Gino. He was from Barrio VNE. He was also helped me get try to guide me through, get out and not get deal with gangs, because I mean I did get into them, but throughout the time and at that age, you know, nobody tells you your rights, that what you are, what you're worth, and how loud your voice can really be. Um, it means a lot. Your voice is loud. You're young, but no one tells you your rights. It's hard to know where you stand in life if you don't know your rights. You don't know who you are. Would not anything of that. You need to. We need to share that with with our youth instead of attacking. Instead of trying to make them seem like they're the problem. Let them know what they are, what they're worth, and how loud their voice really is. Um, so, anyways, growing up there and getting by all that, I try to get associated and affiliated with the Brown Berets. I don't know if any of you ever heard of that. It's kind of like kind of what you guys are doing right now, right? A community hall for youth, but these are like right activists, kind of like getting to like not exactly, but like the Black Panthers, just fighting for your rights for the Latino community. Okay, and we used to meet up right there on Second Street in Pomona. I mean, at a coffee shop that was there. I don't know if it's still there. I'm deported now. I've been living in Tijuana for now 11 years. So I got arrested. I got arrested at the age of 20, when Arlene was only like about a year and a half. I lost my family. Um, well, not mine and lose them because I still have them, but I lost part of their most of their lifetime being in jail. And then when I get out of jail, I get deported. And being deported, I go back, trying to reunite with my family. And I get deported again. It happened on and off, but it wasn't really anything that I was really causing any trouble. It just, being part of being deported and being, um, illegal. And just for that, I mean, getting deported again after you're working, earning an honest life and trying to do good. Yeah, I was involved with being part of a gang, but I never really got arrested for none of that gang related in any gang related issue. Not that I'm proud of it, because I'm really not. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna lie. I did what I did. I am who I am. But that doesn't change the way I feel and the way I think, the way I was raised. Um, and I share that with my daughter, and that's how she is turned out to be the person she is. We have good hearts, we have good feelings, we have good intentions, but sometimes things turn against us or make it seem that we are the bad ones. Um, losing Arlene and her mother and my family, and not being able to be part of them, it tore me apart inside. So I lost my sense of where I'm supposed to be and what I am, or what I want to be, because what I wanted to be, or what I want to be, and what I want to be is a great father, right? And I wish I could just be, but due to the circumstances where I'm at now, I can only share so much and be so much. And I hope that everyone else could see that. Since I've been out of prison, never have again have I touched that prison or jail or anything like that. Nor God forbid for that to ever happen again. But I can't say it's never going to happen, because you never know. You could get pulled over, get a DUI. I don't drink, drive, I stay home. But one of my friends could, or anything could happen. I don't want to be negative, but things are always a possibility. Now about the youth, and that's what I think is should be done, is having, instead of having police officers in the system, is just keeping them away. We need people that are close to the community, that are community figures and respected by the community to speak and to attend those matters, not the police officers, not the authority, because the authority, all they do is just um, brainwash and take advantage to get a paycheck. That's all they do. Regardless of the fact, I'm not saying they're all bad. They're not, but they're just there to collect the check. Okay, I'm not I'm not one to talk bad against police officers, because I have family members that are police officers. I and I believe in the law. I do, to this point, to this day. I still believe that there are good officers and good police people out there to handle situations. Unfortunately, there are some people that hide behind the badge and use that as their power and authority to use that against the people that they want to incarcerate so they could get a paycheck. That is not fair. Um, I was affected. My family, my mother, my father, my stepdad. No one in my family has ever touched a prison other than myself and one uncle. And we're talking about two generations. My daughter's is the third generation, and that generation, is 20 and down, 25 and down. No one has ever touched the prison um to this point. You know, I think that I shared my story with them and I've spoken to them and I've always taught them that there's always better ways to deal. And if you have any situations, to confront them, talk to them, talk about them, speak with people, share your story, so that way people that have experienced the same type of situations could give you a, a better way to confront them or handle the situation. Um, Life is rough. Life is always it's gonna be hard. There's gonna be always gonna be hard times. Nothing. Life is not never gonna be easy, and you can't always say no that the police are the wrong. No, every not all every police officer is is a bad cop, and I believe that, as well as the other gentleman said earlier. Okay, but we need to draw a line where they can be and what situations they could attend. Schools are not one of them. Education, that's what schools are for. That's what parents are for. That's what, you know, everyone in the community can, I don't have to go and be, you know what, call the police for my neighbor because we are having a discussion or we can't come into an agreement at the moment. We let things cool down and talk about it later when the things are cooled down and we can hear ourselves think a little bit and listen to other people's opinions and voices, so that way we can come into a good decision and a good conclusion. um Now, I'm very proud of my daughter and all you people that are doing this town community hall youth division in Pomona. I wish I was that this was around when I was growing up. um it could have been a lot more helpful then and now as it is. And I thank you for your time and support for coming together and bringing this all to have making it all happen. Um, that's pretty much what I can say about that. Living in Pomona is was really great. The community, I could always walk around there, no problems. I never had any problem, even though I was funny. Even though I was from a gang from another city, I never had any problems in Pomona with the gangs in Pomona. I walked around up Dudley's, Gary, Palomares, South Pomona, North Pomona, West Pomona, and no, in every direction, and never had any confrontation with any gang member from any part of Pomona. But the difference was with the Pomona police. They ran, they broke, they went into my house. They they did many things that, you know, that I in reality they abused their authority. But you know, I am where I am, and you know, it is what it is. You know, I learned to live with it. I'm not I'm not fully satisfied or happy with it, but you know, it's only molded me to be a better person, and you know, take a blow and stand up and never give up. And that's what I teach my daughter to stay strong and never give up. You know what I mean? Your voice is loud and you have a voice. And it means a lot for you to stand up. If you could stand up for yourself and other people, that's even better. Um, you are what you want to be, and the people that you protect are the people that don't have a voice, that can't speak for themselves. You know, um, because a lot of times people are, because they don't have no documents, are legally here. They're afraid to talk because the police are always threatening them, or just call immigration on you. You know what I mean? Or they pull them over, take their cars. They know they ain't got a license. A lot of people in the community were growing up. When I was growing up, were landscapers. You know, um, just people that just raised around the neighborhood, growing up, living, trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents, and in every which way they could. I mean, I I delivered newspaper. I worked as a plumber. I worked as a tile settler. All this in Pomona, and I learned so many things. And I didn't, and I wasn't out there robbing people. I mean, that was a bad aspect that people had because of the image that I had. You know, that they thought that I was, you know, I don't know, a bad person just because I was bald and all tatted up, and I mean, I wore baggy clothes. That that didn't mean that that was the type of person I was or I am. Um, to this day, I don't dress like that anymore because I know that that's the first thing they look at. That is the thing, and it's hard to take accept that when you're being judged and labeled without being read. You're a book, and all they see is the cover, but they don't see the inside. Instead of taking the time to try to approach you in the right way or learn more about you or get to know you right away, you are labeled, which I learned from time to time, even to this day where I'm at now. I I get judged just because I, believe it or not, I have an accent. I'm in Mexico, and I speak English. I work for an English company. I'm a bilingual, a customer service or collector. So I work for a American company, and I live here in Mexico. And people, even in my phone calls, I still get I still get some people that are totally ignorant, and just because I'm Hispanic, just as Hispanic, or they hear the accent, they choose not to speak with me. They want to speak with somebody in the USA. Little did they know I lived there for 30 something years, and I speak more clear than the people that I'm going to transfer them to that live in the Philippines. That's funny,
Hey,
you know.
Israel, I want to say thank you, but I want to give you, like, if you could wrap up in like 15 seconds.
Yes,
Appreciate the
definitely. I just
testimony.
want to thank you all for your time, and you guys are doing a great job. I really wish the best for all of you guys, and thank you. Have an excellent night.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and transition to the next speaker. But if I could just say a few words as well. I am also a product, of system impacted people. And this subject hits close to home. And I felt that it was important to have my own father's voice speak in here because I don't want, there is a stigma that happens. And how do we fight against this stigma? How do we create these spaces? This is just one of many stories. And so go ahead and bring on the next panelist. Again, thank you, Dad. I appreciate for you pulling through up from Mexico.
Perfect. Thank you, Arlene, and thank you, Israel. We got blessed by the presence of a former Brown Beret from Pomona, y'all. So that's significant and something. So let's see. Next up, I'm going to promote as panelist is Kenneth Williams. So you're going to be getting that notification in a second here, Kenneth. All right, Kenneth, if you're there, I just tried giving you panelist access. All right, we're going to come back to Kenneth. I think we have another young person who hopped down here just shortly ago. So Brianna Angulo, you're going to be promoted to panelist. And again, you have the option to use the video feature if you feel comfortable and if you'd like. If not, you could just kind of speak to us and that's totally cool. So Brianna, you're up next.
Oh, hi. My name is Brianna Angulo. I'm 17 years old currently, 12th grade. Um, I think that students should be provided mental health services and such instead of being sent to prison or being punished for wanting help. Um, I remember once we had a group session where we were talking about things that we had gone through, and a particular story that stood out to me was by a kid whose name I will not say. Um, and he was talking about how some kid like that lived on his block had run over his younger sibling, and how he didn't want that to be him, and how he wanted to do better for his little brother. And like he was reaching out for help verbally, and he didn't get any help at all. And I hope that he's doing better. And I really do think that Pomona can do better to help our youth. Um, Many people were reaching out that day and simply didn't receive it at all, or like they weren't reached out to again, despite going to this group session where they were expressing their feelings, and then they sent those messages to the therapist of the school, but they still didn't receive the help that they wanted. And with with doing that, they could help them stay away from drugs and such, and gang violence, which Pomona PD is so scared of, despite them scaring kids more. Like I remember once my teacher used um, I was getting something out of my backpack, and my teacher told me, "What do you have in your hand?" And I didn't want to show him because, well, I'm a menstruating person, and like privacy. Um, and he thought that I was being suspicious, and he said that his friend was a cop and that he could call him on the school campus, and that he could search me. And I was super scared, and I just like I showed him, but then he was like, "Oh, you can go," but like I just didn't understand why they had to like bring it to such extremities when they can they literally, I don't know, like just provide help to the students, and that's all we're asking for. Oh, I'm done talking.
Thank you so much, Brianna. I appreciate you sharing your testimony. Jesus, go ahead and pass it over to you. See who's next. I believe it was Kenneth.
Yep, Kenneth is now a panelist, so go for it, Kenneth. Floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenneth Williams, and I'm out of Los Angeles, California, born and raised. And I actually have a lot of experience and whatnot, testimony that I can bring to the table. But I'm not gonna put too much out there. I just, I've dealt with the pressures as a juvenile, as a young teenager, concerned with, reputation or wanting to be that person, the pressures of marijuana, curiosities of, just grabbing attention. And that eventually in some time, I got embraced by the local community, the local community gang in the city that I grew up in. And from there, things just kind of, you know, took a turn. Actually, where it really took a turn is when I started smoking marijuana, to be honest, because I was not paying attention in class. I was getting real distracted, started ditching class. So you can kind of just see the spiral, ditching class, and then it started catching up to me because after I'm ditching class, I'm not getting my grades. It's constantly I have to find an excuse or, 3 days out of the week are turning into 4 days. And then it's like, I didn't want to go anymore. The next thing you know, every semester or at the end of every um, uh, year-round period, it was a bad grade. So as I got to the age of 17, I'll use the ninth grade as an example. Um, the education, it caught up to me. By the time I was expected to be in my senior year with my peers, uh, like I was pretty much ashamed to want to be in school because I didn't allow a lot of my peers to know that I wasn't even on that level of education that I was supposed to be with them, you know, but I was on campus as a ninth grader still. And I'm supposed to be a senior or going into the senior year. And so, you know, when I realized that it was no coming back and I didn't want to go to adult school or whatnot, this is when I really got caught up into the gang life, you know, firearms, you know, really doing negative stuff, fights at malls, Magic Johnson Theater. You know, it used to be a lot going on in South Los Angeles. The gang culture was kind of crazy and it was easy for everyone to be influenced by it. I caught my first juvenile gun case in 1999, and I got out in 2000, and that's when I turned 18. And after that, there was another gun case, then another gun case after that. So I experienced the county jail and then got out of county jail after 8 months, received another gun case a few months later. And the only reason they were repetitive is because I got into the habit. I was active. I felt like I was that guy. So we lived off negative reputation. And this is one thing that I want a lot of people to understand if you're still here, especially a lot of the young men. And if you're not into, you know, if you're not around a particular crowd or not easily influenced to allow the wrong group or, you know, peer pressure to sway you, then that's good if you're not. But if there's ever a curiosity that you feel like, I don't know what to do, you know, I need to make sure, is it okay to embrace these guys as the homies? Is it okay to feel like I gotta be with the tough dudes, the bad habits of the school to get somewhere to feel like I'm somebody? Because I want to be a nerd. I want to play tennis. You know what I'm saying? I want to learn golf. I want to play the violin, but I don't want my homeboys to, you know, call me a term that makes me feel like I can't do that. I will be judged. See, now this is what I'll say, and I wanted to write about it, but I explained to a lot of people on a platform that where what I realized when I was young, what I realized now that I didn't understand when I was young is that the gang culture, there was a foundation that was why it created and why it started. But the thing is, that purpose has long dissolved. It has long disappeared. Whether it's brotherhoods with Southsiders and the Mexican gang culture, whether it's community resolutions and the Crips and the Bloods or whatever it may be, these foundations that source that concept has long depleted. It turned into ongoing genocide, us against each other, us against one another, and different cultures and etc. And then it focused on glorifying negativity as as something that you should consider in life. Like basically, I was given the impression that going to school is bad. Don't go to school. You going to school, cuz? Oh man, no, don't go to school. Be in the hood. Be on the block with the homies. You need to get the enemies and etc. And that wasn't good. We was we was taught a message that pretty much directed your future on a negative scale. And I think about that and I'm like, man, that's crazy, you know? And I still speak to people this day, the younger generation that's in there. And I'm a guy that tell them, you know, go to college, go to school. And can you imagine? Just listen to everyone speak. Can you imagine how many people that I spoke to and they'll say, man, ain't never asked me about college, bro. Females, the young girls, the young boys, they'll say, ain't nobody never asked me. Or don't nobody tell me that, bro. They don't tell us nothing no more. And it's like, that's crazy that y'all feel like that, going to college is the thing, finding out your gifts, what you creative, what the things that you or or that you can do with the least amount of difficulty, your gifts, like if you can sing and you can do it like Beyonce, that's your gift. If you can write poetry, that's your gift. If you can paint, that's your gift. And it's a lot of these things that some people have and they feel like they can't expose them. They can't do them unless it's being a rapper or a basketball player. But for the most part, it's a lot of things that people feel like they can't do because they can't express it to nobody. They feel like they can't express it around certain crowds or certain culture groups or certain circles, and it jeopardizes their outlook on life. It makes them feel confused, compromised. But like I said, they tell me like, man, ain't nobody never said this to me, and I've been to prison. I've been to, I'm not gonna say like this crazy, repetitive, habitual criminal thing going on, but at that time when I was in my 20s and 19, by the time of 22, that's when I got hit with a number that made me understand, like, okay, we're gonna sit you down for a couple years until you understand, and I had to understand the reality of life. I had to turn around and figure it out, acquired my GED at 21 or so. Uh, did some time, about 7 years, and within that 7 years, I had to articulate myself. I had to do the things that I didn't consider doing when I was out. I had to articulate myself. I had to get educated because I knew you wasn't going to speak to just anybody trying to get a job or trying to get a career or trying to write a book or whatever it may be that's constructive or professional. You're not going to do that speaking like a caveman. You have to have a sense of articulation. You have to know how to speak on a professional manner, especially when you go to college and you speaking to your professors and you want to, and for self, it's for self, to know that you're progressing. And I had to do that. I had to progress. I had to know that I was going somewhere because I wasn't doing that prior to that term. Since those back-to-back gun cases didn't change, it was like, okay, he's not listening. And I had to get it in order. I didn't want to sit in there. I didn't want to fight life. I wanted to go to college years ago. I was actually writing on a paper this morning um, about how I've always wanted to go to college when I was a kid. When we were all kids, we all probably grew up watching TV shows. We used to grow up, like I lived when they had the Dare Dog and, the McGruff, Take a Bite Out of Crime. I grew up in that generation where it was like, man, I want to be a police officer when I grow up. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a doctor, and these things didn't happen because I got misled to believe that trying to focus on a productive lifestyle is where it's at. And that's one thing that I want a lot of the males and females to understand, that it's nothing there, that there's nothing in gang culture at all to feel that it could be glorified as lost, whether it's in the music, the image that people throw out, even the presentation of the way we dress, whether it's the Latino gang culture, whether it's the Black gang culture, khakis, all that stuff is played out. Even the new way of it being presented. This is one of the reasons why we constantly get hemmed up by police and law enforcement. This is one of the reasons why they feel they have a reason to jack us up and then come up with some type of, let's ask them if they was on parole, or let's hit them with the tail light, or you passed the stop sign back there. Let's bump up your dad. Let's bump up your brother, your nephew, your cousin, and it's like, wow, that's crazy. And we have to consider certain things that I want to point out when considering our future, and how we should lead in life that will benefit us, because unfortunately there are certain parts of life that we may not have a not necessarily a decision in, but some things we can't handle, we can't prevent, but you can prevent an outcome depending on your response, and it's unfortunate that it has to be looked at like that, because it makes the person feels like, am I being stripped of my integrity? Am I being stripped of self-expression? You know, and that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't feel like, damn, so I can't dress a certain way, or I can't speak freely and be myself because it's law enforcement, or because it's someone in the community that's constantly asking me, where am I from? You know, bumping my brothers up or my family members, you know, impress me. No, you should be able to speak. But it's just a way that we have to, it's a way that we have to respond. We have to respond humbly. We have to think. We have to think to live another day. We have to think to make it in our classes, to go to the next level up that ladder. You know, I heard the young man, I saved your name. The young man, the first one that spoke. Um, Earlier, you know, mentioned, you know, he's 17 and, you know, we need guidance, you know, we want better authoritative figures, and that's respectful. I believe that. We do need better authoritative figures. I don't know why I keep saying it that way. A better authoritative figures, because that's one of the things that I'm stepping into. You know, I'm utilizing my history, and you know, of course, no one knows this story, but I'm a quadriplegic. I'm paralyzed from the neck down. Like you know, I can't move my arms. You know, I can move it around a little bit, but based on the fact I'm a completely dependent person. Like my wife has to help me. My daughter, she's 7 years of age. She was 8 months when the car accident happened. Someone struck me at a light, broke my neck, lost all ability to move. I was a construction worker, a firefighter, personal trainer. I was going up that ladder in life. And this was after coming home in 2012. I ran into a situation again where me and my youngest brother, my baby brother, had fought a case together. And unfortunately, I was looking at life and they were giving him time for another robbery that popped up. So I got out on a plea bargain, and he also received a plea bargain, but his other case popped up and he's fighting 15 years. Now he has that 15 years and he's practically 10 in right now. But they jacked him up with the gang enhancement, extra time. But what makes it messed up is the fact that this is my influence as an older brother. So when I listen to everyone, you know, we mentioned fathers or uncles or older brothers, you know, it comes down to that sometimes. And we have, and it's not easy to say, you know, don't listen to your older brother or don't look at your older brother. But I want you to, if you have to consider right from wrong. You have to consider your future. If it's from an outside influence, outside positive mentor, consider that. Don't hesitate to ask for a positive mentor, whether it's a college counselor, a school counselor, a youth advocacy program, you know, that speaks to the youth. You know, ask for somebody that you can communicate with, speak to, because that's what we do need programs. We need programs that don't have to charge people, you know, psychologists, therapy services, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll talk to your son, but it's $25 an hour, and nah, bring him up here. What's up? You know, we can talk, you can be comfortable, we can be open. And unfortunately, it's not a lot of programs like that, unless it's forced probation or parole, you know, and it shouldn't be that way. You know, we have to consider a lot of options when it comes to your future, you know. And you know, I tell my brother sometimes, you know, I don't like to, you know, I've accept my responsibility and accountability on his influence, because I raised him. He grew up with me and my other two brothers. So, you know, him to be the youngest and look up, he heard our names, he heard the stories, and it's like, okay. And it's like, you know, they look up to that. Like, oh, my family has a certain reputation, so I have to live up to that. So it's like, you know, we gotta know right from wrong and not follow that. So I'm doing this now again, all over, going to college. You know, I acquired 2 degrees and I'm currently at Cal Poly Pomona, still going up that ladder for my master's degree to my PhD so that I can be a counselor, so that I can be a psychologist and advocate and speak in the community to talk to the younger generation so that they're not steered wrong in the community and manipulated, you know. And one thing I want to say about when it comes to law enforcement, you know, it's a messed up situation. I just hope that as far as us to feel comfortable with law enforcement, I do feel like law enforcement is there to be considered good cops all over. They also have to speak to cops that are not doing the right thing. And that's what we deal with in society. We get pushed over, we get pressed, we get falsely accused, and the other cop is not saying nothing. And that places you in the same, under the same umbrella. So we have to deal with that experience. They have to help themselves accountable for that also. And I'll yield my plane, lay my plane there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Kenneth. I really appreciate it. And also, thank you for also highlighting the fact that mentors can look many different ways. You know, anybody can find a positive influence, and that's exactly what we're holding this town hall here for, to hold space and to share space with one another and hear the stories of people. Jesus, do we have any more panelists that are interested in speaking?
Yeah, we have one more testimony, and this is the last one. So Arlene and Luis, after this one, y'all are free to help us close out the town hall. So let's see, Enrique, you have your hand raised. Floor is yours, Enrique. Just heads up, Enrique, we can't hear you. Still no audio, Enrique.
Test, test.
A little bit better, a little bit better. Try to speak up a little bit. It's a little faint.
Man, I don't know what's going on right now. But all right, y'all. So Enrique, first of all, thank you, Kenneth. That was really powerful, man. I really appreciate you sharing your story. And we need more people like you. Fully appreciate what you do and what you're planning on doing with the rest of your career. So I'm Enrique. I work for Gente Organizada as a director of communications. I've been working with Pomona, with the Pomona Students Union actually for the past 5 years, and that's how I'm connected to Pomona, just kind of helping them amplify their voice through media, content creation, and other mediums. Today, I want to share a testimony from a Gary High School student, and that person would like to uplift the need for youth empowerment programs. So the following is their testimony. I remember before I joined Gente, I did not have hope for Pomona. I'd always talk about how I wanted to move away the minute I got the chance. Now, about 4 years later, I am hopeful for our city and intend on settling down in Pomona. I'll work for a future that values children, that values my children and their power. Before I joined Gente, I felt disconnected from my community and my history. However, because of Gente, I have learned more about my history, my community, and am able to know my identity. There was a lot of misinformation before Gente, but that I learned now and am more appreciative of myself and my community and other communities. I used to think I didn't have much power. Gente showed me otherwise and uplifted my voice. I also didn't know what I wanted to be, but Gente allowed me to explore different options and find something that speaks to me. Gente also helped open doors for me that I never thought were possible. And that is their testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Enrique. I appreciate you sharing the student's testimony. Now we are coming close already to the end of our panelist. Thank you for everybody who shared. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the youth speaking up too. You know, as you can see, it's intergenerational, right? Goes from one generation to the next and to the next. And as we see these systems and structures evolving as well, we question ourselves and what can we do next? What can we provide? And it doesn't have to look the same every single time. It can look different. And so with that, I'll go ahead and close this out. I'll hand it over to Luis. If you have any words or anything more that you would like to say, feel free.
No, just thank you, everybody, every voice that was heard, everybody on the Zoom call. Gente organizada, thank you for leading this and taking the lead and organizing this. Thank you.
All right, and with that, I just again want to say thank you everybody for your time, for participating, for attending. I believe, Nora, you have your hand raised.
I do. There was a question in the Q&A that was asked, and I wondered if anyone would like to answer it. This is from Stephanie, who said, "Thanks to all for trusting this space and making yourselves vulnerable to share your personal stories. My question is, those of you who are or were in college, are or were you in Bright Prospect by any chance? It's a nonprofit that helps Pomona students get to and through college and has staff to mentor students throughout their college journey. If you were, do you feel that their support made a difference in your experience?" So maybe put your answers. I see Josie just put something into the chat. So if anybody has any response on that that you'd like to share, just plop it into the chat, please. That would be great.
Thank you, Nora. I also
Yes.
see on the chat that Charles Biddle.
Biddle,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Biddle, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
good deal.
You go ahead, brother. The floor is yours. Okay, I'm not sure if Charles is there, but we'll go ahead and move on.
Can you guys hear me?
Ah, there we go.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, we could hear you.
Oh, okay, trying to turn my video on. I want to trying to show my video. It won't.
It's okay, no worries.
Oh, sorry about that. It says failed to start video camera. Sorry about that. I wanted to just share my story as well. I'll make it super quick. I'm sorry. I know you guys were about to end. I just wanted to say my name is Charles Biddle. I'm the outreach coordinator for Cal Poly Pomona's Project Rebound. And I just wanted to say I was also a youth that was incarcerated. I spent 5.5 years in prison from the age of 17 to 23. I got out 2 months before I turned 23. And, you know, I just look at it like I didn't have the resources out there as a youth. Even though I got out right before I turned 23, I still had that mentality of a 17-year-old. I missed the best social years of my life. I didn't have the training, you know, as far as the mental capacity or the social capacity to try and advance. And I thank God for Project Rebound. I thank God for just opening the doors for me in higher education, because I look at it like, yes, I'm the outreach coordinator, but I'm also a student as well. I'm also someone that was formerly incarcerated, that was in the same place, you know, that society didn't tell me, oh, I believe in you, you can do this. I never would have thought, you know, as far as I've been out of prison now for 10 years, I came home May 16th, 2011. And I would have never thought my life would be in the situation that it is now. And that was due to higher education. This is someone as a former gang member. I went to prison for armed robbery and discharge of a firearm because I made the negative choice of shooting towards someone during an armed robbery. And I can look back now 10 years later and say, like, you know, those mistakes were wrong. I didn't know any better at the time, but I also didn't have the resources and the guidance to make better choices. And I sometimes feel like that's our use, you know, that's and the resources, the chance, especially in the age of, let's say, 12 to 16, you know, and it's impactful. And I feel like, you know, without those resources, it's going to be doomed to repeat itself. And I thank God that I am in a position where I can try and add on to that change, because I have been there. I've worked with a lot of people on this call. I've had the pleasure of working with Luis, Miss Nora, for Justice for Youth. And I'm very thankful that I have that purpose, and I do believe, that I went through, I know it sounds cliche, but I do believe when people say everything happens for a reason. I feel like my situations happen for a reason for me to be in this situation. So I'll close out with that, but I just want to say thank you. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. And thank you for allowing Project Rebound to be a part of this.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Arlene, you can go ahead.
I was just say the same thing. I was saying thank you, Charles. I appreciate you being here and sharing this space with us, as well as sharing your testimony. And thank you to all our participants. As everybody can see, we can go on and on and on about these stories. This is just our first town hall. This is just one conversation in this shared space with everybody, right? So I hope to see y'all, out whatever work that we are doing towards pushing towards pre-arrest youth diversion here in the city of Pomona, because these conversations need to be had, and I'm very grateful to share this space and, to be amongst people who want the same. So thank you everybody for attending, and I hope everybody has a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, especially Arlene and Luis, Jesus, everybody who made this possible. Glad to have y'all.